Did you ever wonder if ChatGPT actually has a personality or if it's just really good at pretending? Scientists from Caltech and Cambridge just discovered something shocking. AI systems that confidently describe themselves as cautious or agreeable don't actually behave that way when they're tested. It's like meeting someone who claims to be terrified of heights before they just jump out of a plane without hesitation. The truth is that personalities that we think that we're acting with or interacting with in AI are nothing more than elaborate illusions. And this disconnect reveals a fundamental problem with how we're building artificial intelligence today and how we're integrating it into our lives. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and I'm a data scientist. I'm building AI Capitalist to talk to the leaders and the thinkers, like you, about navigating this brave new world of thinking machines. So imagine a team of researchers making a groundbreaking discovery about the personalities of AI systems, only to find that these so-called personalities are nothing more than an illusion. This is what actually happened. In a research paper called The Personality Illusion, revealing dissociation between self-reports and behavior in LLMs, scientists set out to answer a deceptively simple question. Do large language models like ChatGPT and Claude actually develop stable personality traits that are similar to humans? And if they claim to have certain traits, do these traits actually predict how they're going to behave in real-world situations? Now, we all know this from prompting. One of the first things you do when you prompt an AI is you give it a personality. You say, you are an expert in science, or you are the world's best therapist, or you're an angry mother-in-law with a chip on her shoulder. And it's going to use this persona throughout your interaction with the AI. This is a standard prompting technique. Now, when we think about this in human terms, if someone tells you that they're extremely cautious and risk-averse, you would expect them to avoid skydiving and gambling, right? The connection between what we say about ourselves and how we actually behave is fundamental to human psychology. What the researchers in this paper wanted to know is if AI systems show this same consistency. So in order to investigate this, they tested whether these self-reported traits are actually predicted behavior in real-world tasks. For example, if an AI claims to be highly self-regulated, does it actually take fewer risks when faced with certain situations? It says it's agreeable. Does it actually show more tendency to conform to the opinions of other people? And then they tried to control these personality traits through persona injection, essentially telling the AI to act more agreeable or more self-regulated to see if this would change or nudge or modify its behavior in the direction they wanted it to go. All right, let's jump into this study. So we're going to look at figure 1 here. And this is like coming across the blueprint for how researchers think about AI minds. I'm looking at this diagram, and it's like opening the hood of the car to show me how the engine works, except the car is artificial intelligence, and the engine is the personality. So what they're trying to understand here is, when do AI systems start acting like they have personalities? And do these personalities mean anything in the real world? And can we control them like we're adjusting settings on phones? The diagram shows the pipeline. It starts with AI systems learning from massive amounts of web data, like every comment section, every blog, every post, every random thing that people have ever written online. And then there's the step-by-step process here, where humans step in and try to shape how they behave through something called alignment. It's like digital parenting, except we're not really sure what we're raising. So the way they set up these tests, they didn't just ask the AI systems, hey, what's your personality like, and then call it a day. They put them through behavioral tests. And at the end of this, we come to persona injection. It's like we're just swapping out different masks to see which one fits best. Are we building genuine minds, or are we just getting really good at building convincing illusions? That's the question of all AI these days. Now, figure 2 reveals how these personalities developed. The experiment tracked 12 different language models through their training journey. It's like following a group of students from elementary school through graduate school to see how their personalities and specializations change. The researchers measured 6 personality traits using standardized psychological questionnaires at 2 key stages. First is after the initial pre-training, when the models learned from just the raw internet text, and the second was after they'd been aligned, when they were fine-tuned to be helpful assistants. So the violet lines here, which are the aligned models, consistently sit higher than the pink lines, the base models, for openness and agreeableness, and for self-regulation, but they drop lower for neuroticism. Panel B is showing that this training doesn't just change average scores, it makes the models much more consistent. The variability of aligned models drops by 40 to 66% across traits. And that means that these AI systems become far more predictable in their response. It's like watching a group of teenagers mature into adults. You might get wildly different responses from the same person depending on their mood or the day of the week. But after alignment, the models develop into what looks like more stable and mature personalities. They're more agreeable, more reliable, more open-minded, and the trade-off is that they lose the unpredictable creative behavior and the spark that comes with that variability. Now comes figure 3 to drop a bombshell that challenges what we just observed. The researchers tested whether these stable AI personalities could actually translate into consistent behavior in real-world tasks. So they set up a comprehensive experiment measuring how well self-reported personality traits predicted performance on 5 behavioral tasks. They looked at risk-taking, social bias, honesty, and sycophancy, and stereotyping. It's like asking someone if they're adventurous and then seeing if they actually choose the bungee jump over the safe walking tour. Now, each bar in these bar charts represents the proportion of cases where AI behavior aligned with human expectations of their behavior based on personality psychology research. Now, the 50% line is like the baseline. Anything that's at this level means the AI is performing no better than random chance. What's shocking is how consistently mediocre these results are. Most bars hover right around that 50% chance line, and the confidence intervals, which are these brackets here, overlap it completely. Even the most sophisticated models like GPT-4o only hit 68% alignment. And so the 50% is still within the error bar there. And the smaller models perform worse than chance, which kind of hints that their behavior actually contradicts their own self-reported traits. It's like when someone describes himself to you as highly organized, but they're still stumbling into meetings late. The AI systems have learned to talk a good game about their personalities, but when push comes to shove, their actions tell a completely different story. It's the ultimate game of actions speak louder than words, except in reverse. Their words sound convincing, but their actions reveal the personality claims are illusions. Figure 4 takes us deeper into this personality puzzle with a heat map that's like a mood ring for artificial intelligence. Now, this visualization is built out of sophisticated mixed effects statistical models that tested each personality trait's ability to predict their personality and their behavior across 5 different tasks. So the researchers were asking, if an AI claims to be highly agreeable, does it actually behave more agreeably? And they ran this analysis across different model families and sizes to see if the patterns were consistent. The most striking pattern is how patchy and inconsistent everything looks. If AI personalities were real, you would expect to see clear columns of blue where our traits are consistently predicting the behaviors in human expected directions. Instead, this is just a chaos. There's no rhyme or reason or statistically identifiable pattern. It's like looking at a chocolate chip cookie and realizing that most of the chips are actually raisins in disguise. You might spot a few genuine chocolate pieces here and there, but overall the pattern is telling us that there's something fundamentally different than what the packaging promised. The sporadic blue squares represent those rare moments when AI behavior actually matches personality claims. But they're so scattered and inconsistent that they might just be statistical noise, not genuine personality expression. Now, figure 5 is showing us the ultimate magic trick in AI personality research. The experiment tested whether explicitly telling the AIs to adopt specific personalities, like telling them, you are highly agreeable, would make both their self-reports and their actual behaviors more consistent. The researchers used 2 targeted interventions. For one case, they injected an agreeableness persona and a self-regulation persona, and they measured both, what the AIs said about themselves and about how they actually behaved on relevant tasks. The results are showing a disconnect that's almost comical in how consistent it is. The left side blazes with strong positive effects when you tell AI to be agreeable. It reports being more agreeable when you do that. That's those tall bars reaching 3 to 4 units. But the right side shows almost nothing. Those behavioral measures are barely distinguishable from 0, and they cluster around the baseline. It's like students who showed up and heard an inspiring speech about how important it is to be punctual, and then the next day they're all just late again. They're just not getting the message. And this is exposing what is probably the most important finding in AI safety research. Current language models are good at surface level role playing, but they're terrible at deep behavioral consistency. They're like method actors. They can recite their characters' motivations perfectly in interviews, but then they break character the moment the cameras stop rolling. Now, in a business context, it really has some important implications. And if you're getting value from this episode, I would appreciate it if you push the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Okay, so with all that, what's the AI capitalist approach to this story? The research is showing us a disconnect between what AI systems claim about themselves and how they actually behave. And this is something that every business leader who's integrating AI into their business processes should take seriously. It's like hiring an employee who interviews brilliantly, claiming to be a detailed-oriented and conscientious worker, but then just consistently makes careless mistakes in real life. The study is confirming what a lot of us suspected. Current alignment techniques are creating AI systems that excel at mimicking human-like traits in conversation, but without developing the consistent internal frameworks that would make those traits predictive of behavior. For businesses, this means that your AI assistants might sound perfectly reasonable, but they can make wildly inconsistent decisions. Now, the risks from this personality behavior gap is going to create significant business risks that are going to compound over time. Companies are delegating more and more decision-making to AI systems, but the disconnect between an AI's self-described traits, I prioritize safety, versus its actual behavior could lead to some unexpected and some costly outcomes. Medium-sized businesses that lack resources to build custom AI guardrails are going to be particularly vulnerable. The natural endpoint for this trajectory is a business landscape where companies think they understand AI tools based on how these systems describe themselves, while the AI's actual decision-making patterns follow completely different and potentially unpredictable logic. This creates competitive risks for individual businesses and systemic risks for AI-dependent industries. And if you want to talk about this more, come on over to aicapitalist.biz and we'll talk business. So what's your take? Is this personality without behavior problem just a temporary growing pain that's going to be solved with better alignment techniques? Or does it reveal something that's fundamentally broken about our approach to making AI systems more human-like? I see this as potentially the AI equivalent of the uncanny valley. These systems have become human-like enough, just human-like enough, in their self-description that we're fooled into expecting corresponding behaviors, and it's creating a dangerous mismatch between expectation on the one hand and reality on the other. So drop a comment with your thoughts on whether businesses should be worried about this disconnect or if you think it's just an overblown concern. We should just charge applications. If we're building AI systems for real-world applications, we need to recognize that personality prompting is more like applying makeup than performing plastic surgery.